I have the best possible version of amnesia, which is I just realized 30 seconds ago, oh yeah, wasn't I all worried about C.J. Stroud's shoulder soreness just a few weeks ago? Didn't I do like 7 videos about it? Yeah, I'm guilty. I'm nervous. I want the best for my CJ Stroud. And as of yesterday, like everything looked perfect. The execution at practice was good. They had a quick game going. Everything was up tempo. They were getting up to the line of scrimmage with time to burn. And it's a new offense and a new CJ Stroud in an offense where he's going to have a lot more command at the line of scrimmage, both in terms of pass protection and everything else. Well, here's CJ Stroud himself answer on what's it like having more on his plate mentally and in control of the entire offense this year.
Yeah, I mean, this is more of a, quarterback's offense where, you're IDing, you're calling the shots, you're switching protections if you need. And it's really like just me in the center. So that's J-Pad or Juice. Got to have good communication with those guys and, relay to everybody else what's going on. So, Nick is doing a great job teaching us stats. So is Jerry and Gerard. So, it's a lot more ownership.
Yeah, communication. That's key. And we've heard the word communication used multiple times by D'Amico Ryans, other guys out there. And it is 100% CJ and his ability to communicate and taking command of this offense. The ability to set the pass protection. When he talks about pointing out the mic, you're not just talking about identifying who the Mike linebacker is on the other team's depth chart. That's what sets the pass protection. When you see a quarterback calling out the Mike linebacker, like usually it's the Mike linebacker, it kind of divides the pass protection in half. So if CJ identifies a blitz that's coming from the left or the right, sometimes they're going to call out somebody who's not the Mike linebacker as the Mike. That lets the running back know who he's responsible for if there's a blitz. And it's something that CJ wasn't really necessarily involved in a lot. Instead, the Texans over the past couple of years have had a variety of either rookie centers or journeyman centers or guards playing center for the first time. And CJ was just kind of along for the ride. It can work and it can be efficient, but then when you come up against teams like the Kansas City Chiefs that do so many things before the snap, or the Minnesota Vikings, there are things that the quarterback simply can see and can process and then relay out to the wide receivers in terms of changing their routes and what have you, that you couldn't do in last year's version of that offense. So I'm very excited about watching CJ operate in this. We know that this is something that he was eager to have, and it's something that obviously like Tom Brady was a master at. Nick Caley spent most of his NFL career in New England watching Tom Brady, seeing exactly how he and Josh McDaniels operates. And CJ's been watching some Tom Brady film alongside Nick Caley. CJ was asked about watching Tim Brady on film.
Yeah, I mean, those clips are always great to watch, somebody do it and at such a high level, just he's not like physically, imposing his will, but he's just mentally, whooping guys, playing and play out. So that's something that I definitely, want to get to that. But like you said, they started back in 2000, 2001, 2003. So like it's been a long time. It's been the same offense. So this is my first year. It's not going to be what I watch on film yet, but, I, am sure that one day it will. And
Okay, so I thought it was interesting that he talks about going back to 2002, 2003. It was a different version of Tom Brady than you would see. The offense did change, so it wasn't. I don't want to fact check CJ here, but he's a young man. He could be forgiven for knowing. He might not even know who Charlie Weiss is. But the offense in those first years was with Charlie Weiss, and it wasn't as advanced or complex as it would become with Josh McDaniels, But that kind of follows the timeline of Tom Brady. Bill Belichick talks about it in his book. It was a little bit more simplified. It was a lot bit more simplified with Charlie Weiss. Charlie Weiss gets the job at Notre Dame, which all Golden Domers can just reflect on with nostalgia and get a nice warm glow to your heart. But it became a lot more complex, and it turned into the receivers, having option routes and adjusting to coverages. A lot of things, a lot of plates spinning all at once. But I think I really like the approach of showing CJ what Tom Brady was early on, and then step by step perhaps showing him where he needs to get to, and you're not going to do it all at once. So they're going brick by brick. I think Kaylee, everything he said, everything that's happened out at OTAs and training camp so far, looks like he very much understands starting from square one, getting the basics down, and then going from there. But watching Tom Brady, never a bad idea. You just got to know you can't be Tom Brady all at once. It's like looking at Mr. Universe on your first day of lifting weights and trying to get to be like Mr. Universe or Seth Payne. What was your offseason like? I thought this was interesting.
I just kind of knew how much time I actually had or how little time we had, and just kind of plan things better. And, it's only my second offseason, so it's not really like something that you just know what to do. So still got a lot to learn, but yeah, I feel like I just planned better and just spent my time intentionally, either if it was training or spending time away. So it's being more intentional.
Yeah, being more intentional and planning better in the offseason. The nice thing about an NFL offseason is you could set your schedule almost 5 years in advance if you wanted to, with some tweaks here and there, depending on when the NFL decides they can make more money if they change the draft by a weekend or something. That part of it is, and CJ had basically said last year he didn't know what he didn't know going into that first offseason. And now he knows kind of where you need to be at specific times. And he learned a little bit something about maybe working too hard in the weight room when his shoulder was sore earlier on. And I know whether he was on a lot of podcasts or not, I don't care. I think that you can have a more methodical approach with each successive year, and you can kind of start to tick off those boxes for where you need to be at which point in the season. He's rounding into the mature quarterback that you would expect him to be. Somebody asked a good question. I couldn't tell who it was on the press conference about the difficulty of learning a brand new offense while at the same time also trying to lead the rest of your guys on offense as you yourself are learning it. This is CJ on that question.
I don't think I'm kind of a people person, so I think I'm a plug and play guy. Like I can relate to anybody at any time, so I think that helps with me on the field. So, the new guys who are here, I think I've meshed with them pretty well, and we've hung out off the field and seen each other out and things like that. So, I think I'll be fine in that area and just try to keep building those relationships.
Yeah, that the biggest thing by far with CJ is he understands the importance of forming a personal relationship with guys before you sometimes have to be the taskmaster that's either criticizing them or getting them moved or correcting them in the moment. And nobody ever follows the old like from a leadership book on the perfect way to lead all the time. Sometimes things get a little bit heated, and when they get heated, it just works a lot better when you have a personal relationship with them. And CJ totally gets and understands that side of him. In terms of him being a leader while also learning a new offense, I think that's where that personal relationship really helps. There's nobody on that offense that thinks CJ's going to be 100% in command of a brand new offense right off the bat. Everybody's going to be learning at the same time. And this is where Kaylee's approach, I think, to starting from square one, let's be sure we get the basics nailed down before you try to keep going and going and going. We don't want CJ to be like some like fresh West Point graduate that gets plunked down in the middle of a bunch of grizzled veterans in Vietnam and doesn't know what the hell he's doing. They're not going to put him in that position. And I like that. I think CJ's I don't worry about, like he said, he's a plug and play guy in terms of, I don't think that's trying to be arrogant or anything. That was just saying, hey, okay, this is the challenge. This is the scheme. Here we go. And we move forward. CJ on Nick Caley himself, which everybody loves hearing about how animated Nick Caley is.
Yeah, Nick is a fiery young coach who loves to yell and run around, and and I love it. He brings juice to the building every day. So I'm excited just to work with him every day and try to build a relationship. And he's done a good job of just relating to the players and always asking us what we want, how we want to do things, and making it player own. So I love that of him.
Yeah, we're in the feel-good portion right now where everybody's personality is the best personality for this situation. So I'm on guard myself that I don't want to be like somebody who jumps into a new relationship with somebody who's the exact opposite of my previous girlfriend or something. That's back in the old days. I'm happily married, have been for decades. Don't ask me how many decades, okay? I can't give you the exact number, but I know I could give you an exact number. So the thing is that Kaylee, I think in everything he's talked about the fundamentals and how important it is to be dialed into the very little things, it does remind me in a good way about the way Bill Belichick coaches defense and offense to a certain extent. But what I always loved about watching some of the Belichick mic'd up stuff was him actually going to the bench and coaching up defensive linemen on the finer details of playing defensive line, or when they're breaking down film. There wasn't a whole lot of mother effing going on. It wasn't like he was tearing into people. It was always a very practical, this is what we need to do. This is how you need to do it, blah, 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 or I'm going to cut you. There you go. It's laid out. With Caley, he's so much more focused on the actual execution and the fundamentals. That's the departure from Bobby Slowick that I'm looking forward to. Because Bobby Slowick, no matter what his personality type was, you can be a Tony Dungy and be just fine with that personality type. He too often almost made it sound in press conferences like he was blaming the poor execution on the offensive players instead of recognizing that, like, no, you yourself, you are responsible for the execution. The X's and O's are one thing, but it's your job to relay, teach, and get those X's and O's out there right on the field. So Caley seems to be wired very much almost methodologically and philosophically different than Bobby Slowick. So I do like that change. Last one. I thought this was interesting, and I like this. CJ, what do you expect from yourself this season?
I just want consistent wins, and not just like on the scoreboard or just on the field. Of course, that's very important, but just in life. So just consistently winning.
Yeah, that's all. Just consistently winning. If there's one thing I wish I had known as a younger player or as a younger person, or honestly, I wish I had known this when I was 42 years old, is just how important it is to break things down into little winnable chunks. And when I say little, I mean 2 minutes at a time. That every day, everything you're doing is, yes, you're working towards a larger goal or something on into the future. But, man, work is a lot more fun when you just break it down into like, hey, I'm going to get a victory. I'm going to get 8 victories this morning every time I check a box off the list. And for kids that are raised in an environment where everything is a motivational video or everything is a sneaker commercial or everything is a 30 for 30 on the importance of becoming legendary, I think it's probably even harder for kids today and young men today than it used to be to kind of just focus on what's right in front of you. And I think CJ's always been more mature than a lot of guys his age in that regard. But this all comes back to that theme of let's not try to bite off too big a chunk all at once. When you go to the Ravens game, the first game of CJ's career, Bobby Slowick had bitten off more than he could chew. They were trying to run all the bells and whistles of that offense, and they were doing it against a Ravens defense in Baltimore. And I don't know if you guys remember, it did not go well. It actually looked a lot better in the second half. But there were times, you remember some of the shots of CJ in that game where his eyes were wide and it was almost a full-bore indoctrination about what the NFL is all about. And he progressed very quickly over the next few weeks. But that was rookie offensive coordinator with a rookie quarterback trying to do too much all at once. So just focusing on those little winnable things all the time. I'm happy about that. Kasia says, seems like a normal thing that younger players underestimate how much rest and recovery they need. I've heard it so often from veteran athletes. Yeah, cross-sport comparison. Go to Justin Verlander in his 12 hours of sleep that he gets or whatever absurd amount of sleep he gets. That I think is just the nights before games, but maybe he does it that much. It's always before they have kids that they're that aggressive about their sleep schedule. But that was a big thing for Bregman to learn. Bregman's a workaholic, everything you would want. But the youth, there's football coaches and young people just never really want to accept how important it is to get good sleep. And that's just one of those things. But then the nutrition side and everything. We've seen CJ on the physical part of it really just latch on to the weight room work this year, which I always get a little bit nervous about. I never want my quarterback getting hurt in the weight room. Remember Ryan Mallett, after his first start ever, tore his pec in the weight room. That's the worst case scenario. But just really understanding and appreciating all of those things on a day-to-day basis, how much it matters and how much it affects the course of the preparation during the week. Like CJ's been ahead of the curve in a lot of those things, but he's going to continue to be ahead of the curve, hopefully. I do not want, I don't know if this is fake news or not, but on the heels of Ozzy Osbourne passing away yesterday, I know Ozzy Osbourne isn't fake news. This is one thing I'd say about Ozzy Osbourne. And I try to say politically agnostic as much as possible when it comes to celebrities and what they do or not do. So I know a lot of people are unhappy with Sharon Osbourne for vaguely some political reason. I'm guessing because she leans left more than right, whatever it might be. This is what I would say about Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne. My God, what a testament to the power of family, because there's not a chance in hell that any of you thought Ozzy Osbourne 30 years ago was going to one day be 76 years old and still living and breathing on this earth. But he had a wife that was just perfectly matched for him. And then, my God, the fact that he had a second act at all was just incredible. So hats off to Ozzy Osbourne for just having not just one great career as a musician, but then also a second great career as he was still a touring musician, but also a reality TV show and everything. And just just an incredibly strong and steady wife throughout. All right, we've got more football to get to. So many videos to do. I'll